Hello, welcome back to another Bean Report YouTube edition. We got a whole bunch of playoffs to talk about today. We're almost at the playoffs for the PWHL. We are about one or two games into the playoffs in the NBA. There's a bit of playoffs going on in hockey, in the NHL, but I haven't been covering the NHL. So yeah, playoffs in three sports right now. We have the NFL draft coming up tomorrow. Very exciting for a lot of teams. I know that both the Jets and the Giants have two picks each in the top 15. Giants recently acquired the 10th overall pick in exchange for Dexter Lawrence with the Cincinnati Bengals. So 5 and 10 for the Giants. So that's very exciting for them. My favorite team. A little bit of baseball going on. We're about a month into the season now, and boy, can the Mets not catch a break. They have lost now their last 12 games in a row. Devin Williams traded from Milwaukee to the Yankees last year, and then just wasn't the same closer. And then in free agency last year, left, goes to the Mets, and everyone's thinking, all right, he actually wants to be here. He signed here. This is where he wants to be. And he looks like the same exact pitcher he looked like in New York. Blowing saves left and right, just not the same high caliber closing pitcher we saw during his time in Milwaukee. So nothing, absolutely nothing is going right for the Mets right now. But we're going to go right into the PWHL now. Enough talking crap about the the Mets. So we have our scores from last week. Toronto went to New York to take on the Sirens, and New York ended up winning that one by a score of 3-2. Boston took on Minnesota, battle of 2-3 in the current playoff standings. Boston won by a score of 3-2. Then Boston took on Montreal. So Boston taking on both of the current two locked up playoff teams in the form of Minnesota and Montreal beat Boston again by a score of 3-2. New York then went to Ottawa, lost to the Charge 5-1. Vancouver, in a high-scoring affair, beat Seattle 6-5. Toronto shut out Minnesota 2-0, and then last night the Vancouver Golden Knights defeated the Montreal Victoire by a score of 4-3. But the game we're going to look at was also last night, but it was a 7 o'clock game, two teams that we haven't really covered as much. The New York Sirens hosted the Toronto Scepters, so we're going to jump right into that game right now. Toronto Scepters and New York Sirens both on the brink of a potential playoff berth. Toronto hosting New York here in this matchup. Toronto trying to get some scoring going. Turnbull shot blocked by the goalkeeper Osborne later on in the first period. New York trying to get something going. They're weaving through traffic, and their shot's going to be denied. Reagan Kirk with a good save there for Toronto. First period's going to end, though. No scoring on the board. Both teams tied up 0-0. Into the second we go now. And early on, just New York trying to get something going, and they have a chance, a one-on-one here. Krzyzova working only Reagan Kirk in front of her, and Kirk with a good save there. Krzyzova couldn't get it, and Kirk, you see one more time here, Kirk just gets a hand on that puck and knocks it free. Later on, New York trying to get something going again, but Toronto takes it in their territory. Osborne not letting anything get in there, puck's bouncing around. Toronto can't get anything to go. And just like the first period, second period is going to come to an end. Toronto's going to clear that puck away. No score, 0-0. Late in the third here, still no score. Both teams trying to get something on the board. Toronto just putting the pressure on. They're on the power play against New York, but good save there by Osborne. New York's going to clear that one away. Now time's expiring. New York maybe one more chance to get it. Kirk blocks that save. Like the rest of the game, 0-0 here now going into overtime. Halfway through OT here in New York on the attack. They're going to look something to going. But Kirk, good save there. New York, they will be able to get the rebound, though. 3-on-3 here in overtime. Simpson, though, fires, and she puts it in the back of the net. Allison Simpson, we see one more time here. She lets that one rip, gets through the legs of Kirk, finds his way into the back of the net. New York's going to win this one by a score of 1-0. So as you can see, a very close game all the way down to the wire. New York winning this one by a score of 1-0 here in overtime. New York, they're 9-3, 3-14. Toronto, they dropped to 10-1, 6-12, although they do get a point because it was an overtime loss. For New York, that was Allison Simpson with her third goal of the year. Only one shot for her was all she needed to put one on the board. Kaylee Osborne, 21 shots on goal, 21 saves for her, so a perfect shutout for her in net. Reagan Kirk on the other end had more shots on goal. She blocked 32 saves, but 31 shots, one snuck pass, and that was Simpson's goal, obviously. Toronto, with one game remaining, will tell you who they're playing in a second. New York currently sitting in 6th. Toronto one spot ahead in 5th. So looking at the standings, we have 1 or 2 games remaining for every team. And it's four teams make the playoffs. We already have 3 of them. Montreal still holding on to the 1 seed with 60 points. Boston just behind with 58. And then Minnesota tailing behind both those two by a sizable amount with 49 points. So it looks like Minnesota's going to be locking up that 3rd seed. And then it'll be a battle between those other 2 teams of Montreal and Boston to see who will be the 1st seed, who will be the 2nd seed. But the 4 and 5 is where we're looking at most today. Currently, Ottawa Charge, they are 8-7-1-12 with 39 points, currently holding on to the 4th spot. 1 point behind them, Toronto Scepters are 10-1-6-12 with 38 points. So these 2 teams separated by just a point. One of those 2 teams will be the final team to make the playoffs here for the PWHL. Then we have the 3 teams that have been eliminated: New York Sirens, despite the win yesterday, 9-3-3-14 with 36 points. And again, despite another win yesterday for Vancouver, 35 points, they are eliminated as well. And then Seattle, the Torrent, have been eliminated for quite some time with 27 points here. So we have 2 days of games left. Tonight, there's a doubleheader. Boston goes to Ottawa to take on the Charge at 7 o'clock. And then Seattle goes to Minnesota to take on the Frost at 10 o'clock. So if Boston wins this one against Ottawa, they will jump Montreal in the standings for the time being. And the later game between Seattle and Minnesota doesn't really have as much playoff implications. The real day of playoff implications is Saturday. Everybody plays. All 8 teams will be playing. The noon game, the first one, will be Toronto versus Ottawa. So if Ottawa can beat Boston on Wednesday, they lock up the playoffs, they clinch. Doesn't matter what happens on Saturday. If Ottawa loses, they will still have 39 points, or if it's a regular time loss, they'll have 39 points. If they overtime loss, they'll have 40. Regardless, they'll be 1 or 2 points ahead of Toronto. So this game right here between Toronto and Ottawa will prove to be winner moves on to the playoffs. Unless Ottawa wins on Wednesday, then they clinch it up. But if not, it will be a very exciting game to see which team makes it to the playoffs. 2 o'clock, New York will take on Boston. Again, if Boston wins if they win both their last 2 games and Montreal loses their last game, Boston will be the 1 seed, Montreal will be the 2 seed. 7 o'clock, Minnesota goes to Vancouver to take on the Golden Knights, and then the last game, 10 o'clock, Montreal will take on Seattle, again at 10. So a lot of playoff implications here on Saturday. That first game could be very well deciding a playoff spot. If Boston wins both their games, they move on to in the 1st seed. If Boston goes 1-1 and Montreal wins their game, Montreal will be the 1 seed. But even if Montreal loses and Boston wins just 1, Boston will jump them up in the standings. So Boston, Montreal will be the 1 or 2 seed. Minnesota is locked up to 3, and then it's between Toronto and Ottawa to hammer down that last final 4 seed. So we go to the NBA, and last week we showed 2 of the play-in games, but now we have a full play-in bracket, which is complete. So the Sixers ended up beating the Orlando Magic last week, earning the right to take on the Boston Celtics as the Eastern Conference's 7th seed. Orlando obviously lost that game, moving on to the final consolation bracket in the play-in tournament. They took on the winners of Charlotte and Miami, and Charlotte ended up winning that game. So again, Orlando versus Charlotte, it was Orlando winning, and Orlando moved on to be the 8th seed, taking on the Detroit Pistons, and the Charlotte Hornets were eliminated. So the final 2 seeds in the Eastern Conference were the Philadelphia 76ers and the Orlando Magic. But Game 1 between these 2 teams, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics, was not close in the slightest. Boston beat Philly by a score of 123-91. This wasn't a really close game on all ends. Philly didn't look great, Boston looked good, and it looked like this series might be a sweep. These 2 teams met again last night, and we're going to tell you what happened right now. Game 2 in Boston. Here's the Celtics are hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference first round here of the playoffs. Celtics going to win this one. Starting up to go here, Jaylen Brown. He's going to look to try and get something going. He's going to pull up the shot fake and pass out to Jason Tatum, top of the key, and he connects on a 3-pointer here. Paul George, he's going to get Derek White to fall, and he, smooth mid-range as ever, gets the Sixers' first bucket of the game. Brown, again, looking to get something going, but kicks out Nikola Vucevic. He's good from downtown. Celtics up 13 here in the first, but Sixers, they're not going away. As they get a tip in here with 0.8 seconds left, bringing the lead down. VJ Edgecombe, he had a great game, and you see him driving here in a smooth little fadeaway. Puts that one in. Sixers only down 3, but Tyrese Maxey wants to change that as he nails a pull-up 3. Tie game here. Maxey again, but this time he's going to kick out to Edgecombe for a 3. Edgecombe had a great game here today. Similar again, Maxey finds Edgecombe for 3, this time on the other side of the court. Again, Sixers holding a lead here going into the second half. Maxey's going to get this ball tipped away, and Derek White, he's going to push it up court, find Jason Tatum 2-on-1 here at Jaylen Brown, but Tatum keeps it himself and puts that bucket in. VJ, again, he's going to drive and find his way in and just get a nice little shot off the glass here. Jaylen Brown, contested 3 in the corner is good. Celtics down by 7. Brown driving, pulls up, gets it blocked, but Celtics maintain possession. Brown finds Tatum in the corner, and he connects on a 3. Celtics now down 4. Jaylen Brown driving with it, working on Paul George, and a nice mid-range there. Bucket gets it to go. Good. But down 10 now. VJ, he's going to pull up. 13-point lead here for the Sixers late. Maxey, he's just going to try and keep this going as he's just going to blow past everybody. One man to beat. Smooth finish, though. Gets that bucket off the glass there. Celtics, they're going to hold it out. Down 14. 6. So as you can see, Philadelphia lost by a resounding total in the first game and then beat up on Boston by 14 points here in Game 2. VJ Edgecombe, the rookie for the Sixers here, had a great game. 30 points for him on 12 of 20 shooting. He added in 10 boards, 6 threes, 2 steals, and 2 assists. Tyrese Maxey did great as well. 29 points, 11 of 28. So not as great as shooting as Edgecombe, but still 29 points, 9 assists, 5 shots from deep, 4 boards, and 2 steals. On the other end, Jaylen Brown had a great game. 36 points on 11 of 24 shooting. He had 7 boards, 5 threes, 4 assists, and a steal and a block to add on. Jason Tatum, he was the second leading scorer for the Celtics here with 19 points, 8 of 19, a little bit more efficient than the rest of the group. 14 boards for him, though, almost a triple-double, though one assist shy with 9 assists, 2 threes, and added in a steal on his own. So the rest of this series will play out as follows. So there's guaranteed 3 more games. Philly is going to be hosting the next 2, which will be taking place this Friday and this upcoming Sunday. Afterwards, the series will flip back to Boston for 1 game, and those are the rest of the necessary games. So if one team wins all 3, then they move on. But if we still have to keep playing, obviously we have the if necessary slots. Philly will host the Game 6 on next Thursday, and then Boston would host Game 7 on the following Sunday. So that's what we have going on right now for the East between the Sixers and the Celtics. Obviously, the series now tied at 1 apiece, both teams taking a game. We look at the Eastern Conference bracket, though. Detroit, they were upset by the Magic in Game 1. The Magic, the 8 seed, surprising everybody. And again, they took Game 1. Game 2 will be tonight at 7 o'clock. But very surprising to see that because Detroit really was such a favorite all year. Again, but they lost Game 1. Cleveland, they seemed to have no troubles with Toronto. They're up 2-0 in that series, and even though LeBron doesn't play for the Cavs anymore, it seems that no matter what Toronto does, they just can't seem to get anything going in against Cleveland. So yeah, they're down 2-0. Knicks, Hawks, they're tied at 1 apiece. Knicks won Game 1, Hawks won Game 2, and it was down to the wire. Hawks up by 1. McCollum misses 2 free throws. Knicks have a chance, but they miss the final shot. Hawks barely escape by in New York. So that series now heads back to Atlanta, tied at 1 apiece. And then, of course, we looked at the Sixers and Celtics. They, again, are also tied at 1 apiece. So Game 2 in Detroit will take place tonight, but the rest of the East has played 2 games, and they're either split or Cleveland's up 2 over Toronto. So moving on to the West, same thing. We showed you a bit of the play-in with last week when the Phoenix Suns lost to the Portland Trailblazers, and the Trailblazers moved on to the 7th seed to take on the Spurs. Suns, they lost to take on the winner of the Clippers and the Warriors, and it was the Warriors moving on from that game. Warriors took on the Suns in the play-in consolation last game, and as you can see, The Golden State Warriors did drop that game, and the Phoenix Suns move on to be the 8th seed, taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. So out of the West, there was 2 games to look at. The first one we're going to look at here, or we're only going to look at one, but the one we're going to look at here was at Crypto Arena in LA, the Lakers hosting the Houston Rockets. Game 2 in LA, the Lakers took Game 1 against the Houston Rockets. Lakers going to win the tip here at the start of Game 2. Getting things started for Houston, Sengun, he's going to miss it, but kicks out. Jabari Smith Jr., he's going to connect from 3 for the Rockets' first point. On the other end, Durant, he's going to get to Sengun, but it's LeBron stealing it away, and you see him in transition, getting things going. Not the dunk that LeBron of old, but still a powerful drive to to the rim for LeBron James. Kevin Durant, pull-up jumper, smooth as ever. Him and LeBron battling for years in the playoffs. Luke Kennard, he's going to drive and kick out, find Marcus Smart, who pulls up from the corner and makes it. Smart had a great game here today. But it's Jabari Smith again working at the top of the three-point line. He's going to connect on another 3 here early in the second. Late, it's Ayton with the alley-oop. DeAndre Ayton throws that one down. And it's LeBron who's going to find one. Jackson Hayes, he kicks out to the corner. Marcus Smart, another 3 here for him. Sengun, he's going to drive. He's going to miss. Good defense by the Lakers. Ayton with a rejection. And another one on the other end. Lakers playing good defense here early in the third quarter. LeBron, he's just going to drive past Durant, and that's what LeBron of old looks like. 41 years old, LeBron still unstoppable. But Sengun now getting the steal, and he's going to go up strong with 2 hands, hang on the rim for a bit. Both teams exchanging blows, but KD's going to find in the corner. Big basket there. Rockets down 7. Sengun, he's going to get the and 1 here with 4.5 to go, down 5. But now down 7. Thompson's going to find Sengun again, and another 2-handed dunk for him. But Lakers are going to carry this one out, up 7. Time expires. Lakers are going to take Game 2 here by a score of 101-94. Closer game here than it was in Boston. Lakers only winning this one by 7 points, 101-94. LeBron James looking like the same playoff menace he's been his entire 23-year career. For Braun, 28 points on 8 of 20 shooting, 8 boards, 7 assists, 2 threes, and a steal. Just regular LeBron James antics. Marcus Smart, he put 25 points up on 8 of 13 shooting. He had 7 assists, 5 threes, 5 steals, 2 rebounds, and a block. Kevin Durant on the other end had 23 points. Not a lot of shots for Durant. Only 7 of 12 from the field. 6 boards, 4 assists, a 3, a steal, and a block. Of course, Durant dealing with a lingering hamstring injury. He missed Game 1, played Game 2, and was their leading scorer. Alperen Sengun was the second leading scorer for Houston in this one with 20 points on 9 of 20 shooting. Had 11 boards for the big man, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. So the rest of the series looks a bit different than the Boston one because Lakers currently lead the series by a score of 2-0. Right now, there's only 2 games that are going to be played, definitely. And those will both be hosted by Houston, as Lakers have hosted there too. It's now time for Houston to host there too. Friday and Sunday, Houston will hold those 2 matchups, and if necessary, for Game 5, 6, and 7, Lakers will host Game 5 on Wednesday, Houston would host Game 6 on Friday, and the Lakers would host a potential Game 7 next Sunday. So that's what we got looking at for the rest of this Lakers series. Now, looking towards the rest of the Western Conference, right now, OKC holds a 1-0 lead over the Phoenix Suns. Lakers, we just mentioned, they're up 2-0 in their series against Houston. And then the rest of the 2 series both split apiece. Denver took Game 1 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves came back 2 nights ago and ended up winning that one by a score of 1-1. San Antonio, they took Game 1 off of a great playoff debut by Victor Wembanyama, 35 points for him. But Wembanyama, we're going to show you clips of it right now. He went up for a shot, looks like he tripped and fell and landed face first and hit his head on the floor. He was then ruled out for the rest of the game with a concussion, and Portland ended up taking that one only by a 3-point win, 104-101. And for the Spurs, you just hope that this isn't a long-term thing for Wemby. You hope that he can relatively soon and hopefully not miss any game time, but it's interesting to see how the NBA handles their concussion protocol, considering usually we're talking about concussions and players missing time in the NFL and in football, and it's really kind of rare to see concussions in basketball as a whole. But it's interesting to see how the NBA handles their concussion protocol here. But it remains to be seen if Wemby is going to miss any time. Yeah, according to this Yahoo Sports article, usually the timeline for NBA players sustaining concussions, they're out usually about 7 to 10 days. So that would undoubtedly have Wemby missing at least a couple of games in this series. Best case for the Spurs, maybe it's at most one game missing. But nonetheless, it'll be a Victor Wembanyama-less Spurs for the time being until he can clear his concussion protocol. But anyway, moving out of basketball, we're going to talk about, we early on in me doing these YouTube channel videos, we covered a bit of the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, and last we left them off they had 16 teams as a part of their league. At the time, those teams were in San Diego, Portland, Seattle, Angel City, Houston, Orlando, Utah, Washington, Denver, the Bay, Kansas City, North Carolina, Gotham, Chicago, Louisville, and Boston. So those were the 16 teams as of the last time we checked off. And so what's happening now in the NWSL is they are expanding. And the previous team that we have known that they are going to be expanding into was Atlanta. They're going to be coming in the 2028 season. So not this 2026-2027 season, but in the 2028 season. So another year without them until Atlanta will be in there. And the second team, they just announced recently, within the last week, their 18th team to be joining the league, and that will be in Columbus. So very exciting to see expansion in the NWSL. Love to see expansion in any sports. We've been talking about it in the NBA recently. There was some expansion in the WNBA recently. Really no sign of expanding in football or baseball. But NWSL will have 2 new teams in Atlanta and Columbus. Both those teams yet to have an official name at this point, but those will be the 2 new teams joining within the next couple of years. So anyway, thank you all for listening to me talk about sports again for another week. I've always enjoyed making these videos. Go watch the NFL draft tomorrow. Hopefully your team gets who they want to get. I'm just talking to myself. I hope my team gets who I want them to get. Nonetheless, just go out and enjoy some sports, whatever sport it may be. Go out and enjoy any of it. It's not too nice out weather-wise today. I would say go outside and enjoy the weather, but it's kind of gloomy and gray. It was really hot last week, but it's kind of cold again this week. So I mean, that's global warming, and that's the spring for you. Nonetheless, thank you for listening and watching to another episode of me talking about sports. I'll see you all next week, and I hope you all have a good week. Thank you.